It's the Sports Peninsula podcast. Coming up, the Detroit Lions played one of their worst games so far in 2023 for 55 minutes, but scored 17 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to close out a hard-fought 31-26 victory over the Chicago Bears. The Lions will next play host to the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving at Ford Field. We'll look back at the come-from-behind win against Chicago and give our thoughts on the Green Bay visit next. Now here is your Sports Peninsula team. Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Peninsula podcast. My name is Dave Drzezinski-Drew, and we're celebrating an 8-2 Detroit Lions team. Even though for 55 minutes it looked like we were going to be absolutely destroying them on this episode, Uper Brad, but no. It only took 5 minutes and 6 seconds to score 17 unanswered points, and the Lions win 31-26 next Sunday at Ford Field. Joining me, of course, is Uper Brad Harrison. Uper, how you doing?
Hey, Drew. Happy Thanksgiving, pre-Thanksgiving to you and yours.
You as well.
What a great holiday for us Lions fans. And yeah, we thought we were in for a mess. That thing was a bit of a mess last Sunday. But fortunately, we were playing the Chicago Bears. And let's just say we made our own luck. These guys played and made the plays that need to be made to win the game. So we appreciate them for that.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. You know, we've been around the block a little bit here, 40 plus years, right? And for as Lions fans, and this is a game the Lions lose. Typically, they'll lose this game. They maybe would have scored 10 points in the past and tried an onside kick at the end, not gotten it, and we'd be lamenting what might have been. But this team's different. And really, pretty ugly performance up until the last 5 minutes of that game, Brad. I mean, it's, you know, and we'll dive into it in a little bit here, but wow, I mean, and Jared Goff said it, good teams win these type of games, and they won this game. I don't really care that it's the Bears. I mean, me personally thinking, I mean, if this kind of effort against a high quality team, a winning team with a winning record, Lions are probably done at halftime. But you got to be resilient. You got to take what's given to you. And let's face it, the Bears dominated this game, especially on the time of possession. We'll look at that too. But they took advantage of the situation, Brad, and then they made it happen in that last 5 minutes. I mean, they just were not going to be denied. And that's it. So we'll take a look at that in detail here. And we got to start out with number 16 first and foremost. And Brad, I want your thoughts on this. Goff didn't throw. I mean, he's typically been throwing between 30 and 35 times a game. He completed 23, 236, 2 touchdowns. That 3 interceptions, though, stands out, doesn't it?
Oh, it sure does. And you know, and 2 of the 3 tip balls, Laporta's route. I mean, he stopped the route because he ran into the defenders. I would say 2 of those 3 weren't on Goff. I mean, he's the quarterback, so at the end of the day, he's going to get more credit than he deserves and more blame than he probably deserves. And that was a stinker, man. That was a game that was foreign to us as Lion fans to watch over these past 2 years. So I'm glad it was foreign to us. I don't really want to revisit that again. But it was a bit of a mess. I think we got Chicago's best shot. They came in here and gave us all they had, and it was not enough. But I would tell you, it's going to be an interesting. We're in the second half of the season now. But there's going to have to be some reinventing a bit. And I do think the way Dan Campbell leads, I do think the way Ben Johnson's mind works, we're going to see some different things here in the next few weeks. And I'm looking forward to it because I do think we have a quarterback that can adapt and be better. So, once again, we're sitting at 8-2, and it's not because this team has played out of their mind unbelievably great. This is a very good football team that has room to grow. So, and I'm looking forward to watching it.
That is the most encouraging statement you can make. This team hasn't peaked yet. They have not. We've seen them play at times outstanding football. We've seen some rough spots, but those have been few and far between. But yeah, I agree with you, Brad. And they'll be the first to say it too. You haven't seen our best. We haven't, because we've seen glimpses and stretches of great football from this team. And I don't mean to make them sound inconsistent, because they haven't been. They've been actually pretty consistent. But we've seen them, this game against Chicago, of course, the 2 losses, we saw some issues. But overall, they've been able to pick themselves up, and here they are, 8-2, 2.5 game lead over Minnesota, but really a 3-game lead, because they're 3 games up in the loss column. You don't make up losses, so, and they have to play them twice still, so that's a beautiful thing. But again, yeah. I mean, we could. There's no need to beat up on Jared Goff. I think you summed up pretty well. I mean, 2 of the 3 picks, probably not on him, but they happen. It is what it is. The second one almost seemed like maybe he's trying to force the issue to get Peoples-Jones involved maybe a little bit, and just didn't see Edwards. But he's 6'6", so he's got quite a range. He can make some plays out there. But overall, yeah, I can't complain about Goff. Wasn't his best game at all. 5 minutes less time on that clock, and would be sulking a little bit, but he did what he had to do. He was a big part of that stretch drive down in the fourth quarter, and so was this guy, David Montgomery. Let's talk about David Montgomery. He
wanted it.
Yeah, he did.
Wanted it, and he got it. Right. Like, I mean, he was able to close out that game. And it wasn't just touchdown. I mean, the first downs he was picking up, the hard yards at the end of that game were impressive. So, once again, I just think the way Ben Johnson is going to use Montgomery and the way he's going to use Gibbs moving forward I don't think we've seen it yet. I don't think we've seen what it's going to be. But I would tell you, I was happy for the kid to go against his former team and close that out.
Yeah, and the Lions, he had 12 carries. Let's jump to Jahmyr Gibbs. He only had 8 carries, but he caught 6 passes. You got to love the total yards, though, from a scrimmage. Once again, Jahmyr Gibbs, 95 yards total scrimmage yards. He's averaging like just a sliver under 95 a game. Third best all time for a Lion rookie. I mentioned that last week behind Billy Sims and Barry Sanders, and just an outstanding. But they didn't get the ball that often because the Lions flat out didn't have the ball that much on offense, and I think that contributed to it. But the run game was effective overall. Like we said, Gibbs with 36 yards and a touchdown. Montgomery with 76 yards and a touchdown. I
believe that was against the strength of Chicago's defense.
Yeah, you talked about that last week.
Their strength, our strength on those lines. I watched some of that all-22 film and watched Frank Ragnow last week. Whoa. When you're bored, take a look at that. There was a man who was just pushing other men around, and it was a sight to behold. So, our strength beat their strength.
Yeah, and like in 12 carries for Montgomery, 8 for Gibbs. So in 20 carries, that's about 118 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Outstanding performances by them. So they were able to run the ball with limited carries. So that's real impressive. Like you said, that doesn't happen without that offensive line. And what was impressive too, Brad, was they did a lot of Montgomery's touchdown came in that last 5 minutes. They weren't afraid to run the ball in that 4-minute drill. They weren't afraid to eat clock up. They were very, very methodical and confident. I mean, yeah, they hurried to the line, but it wasn't breakneck speed. They never even clocked it once on any of those drives. They were just focused. It was one of the best. I think someone wrote this too. It was one of the best management of the clock we've seen as Lions fans. I mean, honestly, the coaching staff did a brilliant job as well. But again, love the versatility of this backfield. But here's the guy that just keeps making it happen. Amon-Ra St. Brown, only 8 more catches, 77 yards and a touchdown. I mean, Brad, it's like a lot of the other guys are maybe higher profile in terms of spotlight, but this guy makes it happen every week. Talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Well, that's going to change. That will change. This guy's going to become a national treasure. Like tomorrow, Thanksgiving is happening, And America's going to watch the Detroit Lions, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to impress. So we're getting a whole new audience, and we haven't got yet, but it's coming. And oh shoot, he didn't get 100 yards. Come on, St. Brown, what up? Only 77 on 8 catches. Amazing talent, and one that I don't know. Like I kind of think about with a lot of the positions on the team. Is this as good as we can get from this position?
Mm-hmm.
Is this as good as we can get from Amon-Ra St. Brown? It's impressive, but I don't think so. I don't think so. I think this guy's just built different than most anyone we've seen come through the league. And so I mean, even through injury, right? Like through this pain that comes with the game. This kid, you don't keep him out. I mean, he did miss a game, but probably a game he could have missed, right? Like take a little break. We don't need you tonight. But I think he's a kid who's just sees the stage that's coming, and he's gonna perform. So I'm very anxious to see what happens on Thursday.
Yeah, I agree with you. And furthermore, I love he's got a big chip on his shoulder, but it doesn't come from a bad place.
No.
He's determined,
negative, right?
He's not negative, and he's not a diva. He's just a determined individual who's determined to prove every team wrong that passed on him, because he still remembers every receiver picked before him, and he was picked in round 4. And hey, I admire that, as long as you can keep it focused and keep your eye on the prize, which he's absolutely been able to do. The guy's work ethic's through the roof, and I think that radiates through that locker room too. You want guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown in your football team, not just because of what he does on the field, but because of what he brings off the field as well. So yeah, he's going to get another chance to shine in the national spotlight, and that's Thanksgiving week. That's Thanksgiving Thursday. It's actually tomorrow. We're recording on Wednesday the 22nd here. So tomorrow afternoon, 12:30, Ford Field, number 14 is going to shine. Let's talk about Jameson Williams. And he had a great touchdown catch. I believe it was a 36-yard catch. He had 2 catches for 44 yards there. And what was beautiful is that they ran that play, and he and St. Brown were on the same side of the field, right side. St. Brown cut off his route and ran out after 20 yards, and nearly everyone followed him. There's Jamo wide open. Can't leave number 9 unattended. He's going to make you pay. Talk about him.
Right. And then once again, this is just, we definitely have not seen the best of Jameson Williams. Like, this is going to be a treat when this thing starts clicking. And it may just started last Sunday, because that route, that design was impeccable. And for our viewers, if you want to, I'm telling you, watch us every week. But I've found myself with a little bit of a guilty pleasure with YouTube. Go look at the post-game shows from our opponents. NBC Chicago was amazing. They go live 3 minutes after each game with Dave Wannstedt, Lance Briggs, and another defensive tackle for the Bears. I just can't remember his name. But Lance Briggs was out of his mind on this play. And he talked about the design. He talked about what a defense can and cannot do in the jam. Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown put on Chicago's defense. And he just broke it down how terrible Chicago played that. But he also admitted this they put us in a jam. And then I heard Jameson explain it on the post game, and he explained it to perfection. He told the world why Chicago couldn't defend it, and it was a tremendous route. He completed the catch, and this is the stuff that's going to continue. So, good on Jamo. Welcome, man. Welcome.
I tell you what, I just have a feeling that tomorrow against Green Bay, this is number 9 is going to have a coming out party. Honestly, we've seen great touchdown catches. We see 1 and 2 catches per game. I just have this feeling that Jamo is going to be the man against Green Bay, because let's face it, if you're the Green Bay Packers, you're focusing on that run game. You have to. You have to worry about 14. You have to worry about 87. There's just not enough guys to cover, and it's just the Lions can do a lot of things. The Bears found that out the hard way. That was a big play by JMO and St. Brown aiding on that one as well. Here's Sam Laporta, Brad. He only caught 3 passes for 18 yards. Probably one of the tougher games he's had. Although what I will say is that those 3 catches came in the second half, and a couple of them were in that last 5 minutes. So he did show up and make some plays. He did struggle a little bit, but I think the Bears were the first team this year to play the Lions that said, we are going to focus on Sam Laporta. We're not going to let him beat us. And they did take him away from the game for a lot of it. Talk about Laporta.
Oh, right. So he was missing. He was missing. And that offense was missing.
Yep.
That offense was missing.
Yeah, they couldn't
3
click.
quarters and half of a quarter, whatever that math adds up to. This offense wasn't what we needed it to be. But when Sam got involved, guess what happened in that last 5 minutes? We all saw it. That offense was what it was supposed to be. And it's because of Sam Laporta and what he did. And once again, it's something to behold when a veteran quarterback is confident in the rookie tight end to go where he had to go. And he wasn't the first choice. He wasn't, Jared was looking off some, and guess Sam, right? So, when he was called upon, when it needed it the most, he showed up. So, such a key to this offense. If we can get him involved earlier, it's going to be better for the game. So, I would tell you, but to keep your mind in it, to keep your the routes were still crisp, the blocking was still good, and when he was called on, he was there, and that says a lot. Because I'll tell you, I was on a couple text threads talking about the next game and what 7-3. I'm so thankful these guys haven't been with us as long as we've been with us, Drew. Because the scars, what we've seen creep in my mind, and it doesn't for these guys, and I'm thankful for it.
And then we get the Bye Bye Barry documentary that premiered this week, and we hear some tidbits out of that. I won't play spoiler, but there were a couple things brought up that I actually, even at the time, was not aware of, a little surprised by. But those were tough times, and it's easy to be cynical as a Lions fan, right? And but I mean, you gotta shake that off. No pun intended, Taylor Swifties, but no, it's not the same team. It's just not. When it's tough to get used to, it's tough to trust it, but it really isn't.
This is the beginning of it too. This is just the beginning. This is no. I'm living over in Wisconsin, right? Like, and it's amazing how many people I run into, and they're just really impressed, and they wish our coach was their coach, and they wish that they want to be us. And I have to remind them, this is the future. This isn't just flash in the pan.
No.
You're getting beat by rookies.
Yeah. I mean, Dan Campbell not the most relatable coach. He's the most relatable coach I've ever seen as a fan in Detroit. We've had great coaches. I mean, managers, Sparky Anderson, Scotty Bowman, Larry Brown, Chuck Daly. Jimmy Leland. I mean, I could go on, but I mean, my gosh, is Dan Campbell you just get, I don't care what realm you're in, what work you do, to hear that guy speak, you want to take the ball and run it through the wall. I mean, whatever it is you do, you want to do it so well, because that guy just fires you up.
He's so consistent. Don't get me wrong. I was elated with the win, but frustrated with the game, and thinking about all the things that went wrong and what needs to change to get to where we want to get to. And then I heard Coach Campbell talk after the game, and I know what he's, I'm making assumptions. I know what he said in the locker room, but I want follow him. This is a positive spin. Don't get me wrong. There is absolutely work that got done between Sunday and Thursday. Things that need to get fixed because the defense is. I know we're not talking about defense right now, but there's things that need to get fixed.
Yeah.
But that's not the focus and the hammering, right? It's getting these guys to believe in what they are. And I think that looks at Sam Laporta. He's on our screen right now. And to have that young man play with that much, a man with that much ability, play with that much confidence is something to behold.
Yeah, no question about that. And realistically, we'll wrap up the offense here shortly, but overall, you take away the turnovers, and unfortunately, there were 4 of them, 3 interceptions, and also a special teams fumble, all costly. This team the Lions still had the lead at halftime, which was crazy because they had no business leading the game at halftime. They were down 12 going into the fourth quarter, and the Bears had just eaten up almost over 9 minutes of a drive that started just before the fourth quarter started, went all the way over to that 5:06 mark left in the game. And it just didn't look good. And we'll get into that. But again, offensively, when they took care of the football, they made plays and they were still able to score 31 points. So, I mean, I can just imagine how this game should have turned out had they taken better care of the football. But hey, win's a win. We'll take it. Let's talk about that defense. Not much else to talk about on offense because when we look at the bottom of the screen here, we see the time of possession. The Bears had the ball for just over 40 minutes. The Lions just under 20 minutes, and they won 31-26. Now, they had 163 rushing yards against, Brad. 100 plus of those were Justin Fields. Now, only 169 passing yards. So, okay, you kept Justin Fields under 300 total yards of offense. That's actually not bad. But again, they forced a couple fumbles. The big one at the end with Aiden Hutchinson and then Darnell Wright kicking the ball in the end zone for the safety, which was smart because that was likely going to be 6 points. But realistically, Lions defensively, it seemed like they made adjustments, Brad, to Justin Fields after that first drive. Because that first drive, and let's talk about that. The Bears did whatever they wanted to do. They didn't even have a third down, and they didn't do anything spectacular. They just methodically ran the football down the field and down the Lions' throats, and it was 7-0 in no time. Scary stuff. What were your thoughts?
Well, it's scary, and it's scary because we've seen these mobile quarterbacks get us this year. So that's one of Aaron Glenn's jobs right now, right? Like figuring that out. So, I think we talked about it last week. We should expect Fields to make plays with his legs and not let it break our back, when it happens. But that's the work that needs to get done because I don't know how many, we're going to see mobile quarterbacks in the playoffs and offenses are going to have this on tape, right? Like this defense is on tape.
Yeah, absolutely.
And their teams have figured out how to attack it. So, we're at a disadvantage. I think with speed, I just think, Aiden's amazing. He's one guy. McNeil is a plug, he plugs that middle. He's one guy. We got 2 other spots here. The Bohannon kid, I mean, he was a blessing. Like
he played great.
Do a double take, and what's his name? And I even just said it wrong now. I don't know.
Bohannon, yeah, Bohannon, yeah. He started like 9 games for Dallas. I mean,
yeah,
big guy.
Thank you, Brad Holmes, for pulling that guy off of a practice squad. I mean, I know they're working hard at that. I mean, and you kind of went back to this trade deadline, and if you're cynical and you wonder about what could have been, there was obvious options there. But I mean, the Aquaras, Kaminsky, Charles Harris, you have your opportunities are in front of you. Like, let's see you, man. You have these abilities. We've seen that. Yeah. So I just think the defense is that's what's scary, right? Like that's where you just have to. It's got to get better. It's got to get better.
I think the way to overcome some of that might be some different blitz packages. We saw some of that against the Raiders. They were a lot more aggressive against Garoppolo. Now, Garoppolo I wouldn't call him a running quarterback, but he's certainly mobile, and they made him. They put him under duress a lot. I think after that first drive, they made some adjustments, and I mean, I know Fields got his, but we expected him to, like you said earlier, and we mentioned it last week, we expected Fields to at least have one big play. I think we all expected the score to be somewhat similar to what it was. We just didn't expect it to shake out the way it did. I really didn't think the Lions were going to have a real issue with the Bears, but they certainly did struggle and then damn near lost the game. But yeah, you're right. It's on tape. And then a team like Chicago, a team like Green Bay. Green Bay's obviously seen Detroit already in Lambeau. That was a beautiful win. They're going to be ready. They're going to have some things ready to go, but they are a very banged up team. Let's before we jump into that Green Bay game, though, this is the Thanksgiving game. This is such a special game. And I'll never forget my first game with you. We were both working I was interning with the Lions. I think you might have been still interning. I think you just started full time there. And it was the coin flip game against the Steelers. And that was a special game. Lions won. Now, Jerome Bettis tried to change his call while it was in the air. Can't do that. Can't do it, boss. But yeah, it's just a special event. And, it's funny. I was doing some research because a lot of people I talked to say, oh, yeah, Lions own Thanksgiving. They own the 12:30 time slot. They got a losing record on Thanksgiving, right. Believe it or not. And I've sat through a few of those in my time. I know you have too, but I can remember some great ones too. The 1983 game comes to mind right away. Another Pittsburgh game when Dexter Bussey. You were at that game, weren't you?
That was the first Detroit Lions game I ever attended.
Yep, 1983.
1983. And the Detroit Lions beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 45-3.
Yep.
And I would tell you that there was probably a 10-day window in my entire life that's why I'm a Lions fan today. And that was in there because the Sunday before was down in Houston when Billy Sims Sims karate kicked the Oilers.
And they lost.
What are you, 83? I'm 9. Mm-hmm. And so a 9-year-old Brad Harrison in the UP sees that, couldn't believe what I saw. And my Uncle John in Kalamazoo, Michigan got us all tickets from James River Paper Company. We got to sit in their seats. And we went to the Pontiac Silverdome that day and watched Pittsburgh Detroit do what they did to Pittsburgh. So yeah, that was my first game, and what a treat. And I've been to countless others, and I'm going Thursday. I'm going tomorrow. So awesome. Me and my son I'm not in my typical basement. I'm at my in-laws in Holland right now, and gonna get up early tomorrow and head to the D and make more memories.
I love it. That's awesome. I mean, we saw you guys last year there too. We were at that game last year. It was fun. Green Bay is a traditional opponent on Thanksgiving, although I know in recent times the scheduling, it used to be one year it was a division rival, the next year it was an AFC team, and it would alternate that way. And now it's kind of just been pick and choose. Actually, it wasn't last year, it was 2 years ago. It was the Chicago game that we ran into you and the family there. And last year was the Buffalo game, which was a good game. Detroit lost, but good quality game. This year it's Green Bay again. And again, the Lions have faced the Packers already on a Thursday night and really, quite frankly, took care of business. The Packers are beat up this year. Aaron Jones likely not playing in this game. A.J. Dillon will get the lion's share, no pun intended, of the carries if he can play. Luke Musgrave out. They're a banged up group on offense. And then, Bakhtiari's been out. So the offensive line's struggling, but their defense is pretty stout. Let's talk about this game. What do the Lions need to do to win?
What do the Lions? Don't turn the ball over.
That helps.
4 times. Or whatever. Just be on the positive side of that, because that's the only way we're losing this game is if something goofy happens, right? Like, because this Detroit team is just better than this Green Bay team. Now, any given Sunday, any given Thursday, anything can happen, right? Like, and they're not coming here to, this isn't the Washington Generals coming in here, right?
No.
This is an NFL team. Rashad Gary is going to want to do what he wants to do in front of the Detroit crowd. Reed from Michigan State, he's coming back to show his fans what he's about, but there is no plausible way Detroit loses to Green Bay unless we get sloppy.
Yeah.
Unless interceptions happen, fumbles on kick returns, right? Like, we obviously know that can happen. So momentum can get against you. And it was a lot of effort to get that momentum back against Chicago, but obviously we can do it. The men wearing the throwback silver helmets don't get frazzled. They don't.
No.
Bad things will happen. Could happen. It's football, so they probably will happen. And how they respond to that is what's important. So I'm a firm believer in what we have going on our sideline. And, I just really want to see this defense take hold, right? Like, this is a get right game with sacks, with interceptions, with turnovers for us. So let's force that issue. And I think that we have an opponent that we can do that against.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And I think it starts with, number one, the offense, to your point, not being sloppy. I think this offense could make this Green Bay offense very one-dimensional quickly if they can get on top of things. And the Green Bay's defense is pretty good. I mean, you mentioned Rashawn Gary, there's Quay Walker over there, there's other guys. I mean, they got a good team. But at the end of the
get up, they're a 4-quarter team now.
Oh, especially
don't think we're going to be up 10-0 at halftime and we got this in the bag.
No. Ask the Saints.
Love is a young quarterback who's getting better. He doesn't have the right group around him, but this isn't. We're not going to sit in our rocking chair in the fourth quarter and just digest our turkey and stuffing. Like, we're going to play 4 quarters of football.
Yeah. That's a great point. This Packer team, if anything, they're resilient. They're not a pushover. I believe they're 4-6. So this game means a lot to them. This game, I mean, honestly, they lose this game, they're 4-7. They've already dropped 2 to Detroit, and let's face it, you're likely not making the playoffs if you don't have at least 9 wins. Realistically, I mean, I know there's been exceptions and there will be, but realistically, 9 games gives you a good chance of getting in. It's not a guarantee, but with the extra wild card, it might be good enough. But with 17 weeks now in your season, to have 7 losses at Thanksgiving would be pretty bad. And considering Minnesota's playing as well as they're playing, with Joshua Dobbs, which is impressive. That's why this game's so important. That's why last week's game was so important for the Lions. Defensively, you got to make Love uncomfortable. And I think they did a good job of that when they played them in Green Bay. You got to make him uncomfortable. They've got a lot. They're banged up. So take advantage of that. I mean, you can't take them lightly. Jaden Reed, you brought him up. He's been doing some damage lately. He's been doing some really good things out there. So in Watson's out there, you got to be concerned about him. So, I mean, got to respect them. But offensively, I think the Lions need to just do what they do. I don't think they may pull a trick out of their hat. Ben Johnson's good for that, and I know it's been a short practice week, but realistically, I don't see the Lions struggling in this game, and unless they get sloppy, to your point, and they allow it to happen. They're a better team than Green Bay this year, and they need to take care of business, and I believe they will. But your thoughts on the outcome of this one? You got a score?
Man, I was so off in the last few weeks. a score.
We predicted the win last week, so we're good there.
We did predict the win, and I'm going to predict the win again. I don't see Green Bay putting up a lot of points. I mean, if they put up 10 to 14, I mean, maybe 13, a couple field goals and a touchdown, and we're sitting at. I say it's not going to be a rocking chair in the fourth quarter, but I kind of hope it is because I just want to have fun. So maybe it's a 28-13 type of thing, or and we get right on both sides of the ball, I think, and put on a nice show for the nation to see, and for the Lions fans to enjoy. So we're due that here on Thanksgiving. I brought something with me, Drew, that I want you to see.
All right.
Talking about Detroit Lions football on Thanksgiving Day. There's, I think we all realized during the broadcast last week, 8-2. First time since 1962.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to tell you about 1962 Thanksgiving football for all of our viewers here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. How do I do this? So here is a photo of the Fearsome Foursome. Thanksgiving Day, 1962. That is a Hall of Fame quarterback, Bart Starr, who was sacked 11 times during that game. Can we replicate that, Aiden? You've got Darius McCord, Sam Williams, Alex Karras, and Joe Schmidt in this photo. And just so happens, I got all their autographs on this thing too, Drew.
I could cry. That is awesome.
This is what can be and what once was. And so, can we say? I don't think we're getting Jordan
fired up.
I don't think we got Alex Karras and Darius McCord out there right now. But we got Aiden, we got McNeil, we got some blitz packages, like you said, that I think we're going to have to do. But that 1962 team was, when you start looking at that roster, and I actually had this too. Put that out of my. This is the team.
Get a close up on that. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful.
Falstaff beer. I mean, come on. But these are Hall of Famers, man. You're going to see Dick Knight, Train Lane in there. You're going to see Yale Larry in there. You're going to see Joe Schmidt, as I mentioned. You're going to see assistant coach Don Shula.
Hey, he's been pretty good
team too. So great players on that 62 team. 8-2, just like these great players on the 2023 Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I'm going to say 28-16. I'm right with you. I think they'll get one more field goal, but I think we'll enjoy our Thanksgiving. Certainly enjoy our turkey and be grateful and blessed that we're healthy and happy and be around our friends and family. And it's going to be a fun day. And as Detroiters, Michigan natives, we can't take this for granted. I mean, Dallas and Detroit are only teams that get this game every year. And it's cool they have a rotating one. I think it's Seattle and San Fran this year. Washington and Dallas at 4 o'clock or 4:30. That's a classic. You can't beat that. So it's going to be a great Thanksgiving, no doubt. And I think the Lions are going to step it up. And for once, for a first time since Barry Sanders was a Lion, I think the nation's tuning in to see the Lions, not just because, it's the only thing on and they're going to get smoked. No, they're actually they want to see the Lions. This is a fun team to watch. They're a fun team to support. And it starts with the coaching staff. It starts with the humility of these players. They set the example. They're a focused group, and it's really been fun to watch. And assuming they go 9-2 and win this game, Brad, it's uncharted waters. To your point, 8-2 hasn't happened since 1962. I mean, even the '91 Lions dropped 2 in a row after they started out 6-2 and then tore off the next 6. Special stuff. And this year I've been reluctant to look too far ahead. And I know people, of course, they're playing for trying to get that first seed, of course. So you got to win every game. I mean, you just have to, because Philly obviously is not going to lose too many. They just went to Kansas City and put on a show on Monday Night Football. Excuse me. They're a great team, but you're not playing Philly today. You can't worry about that. You got to take care of the business at hand. Looking forward, the Lions still have the Vikings twice on their schedule. They do have to go to New Orleans. They have to go to Dallas. They have Denver as well. So not insurmountable, but there's some challenges there, especially going to New Orleans and Dallas of all places. I think second to last game of the year, it's going to be a challenge. But you have 3 more division games left. They're in very good shape. They put themselves in good shape. But any closing thoughts here, Brad, before we sign off and you start preparing mentally to go to that Thanksgiving game?
Well, you mentioned division, right? Like one of the things I've really been impressed with is the spotlight Coach Campbell puts on division games. Like you hear it from the guys on the roster. This is a division game. This is a division opponent every time, right? Like, so, and that's the right thing. You got to win this division. That's the first thing you got. You can't do other things. You can't get a home playoff game for the most part if you're not winning the division. So I love that that's a focus. And I love that Detroit has football on Thanksgiving Day. And I feel very fortunate to be part, just to be there. And it just means, it means more to me than maybe it should, but I really do enjoy it. So to all our listeners and watchers, viewers, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy it.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. So for Brad Harrison, also Coach Andy Sheehan, Detroit's finest Justin American, who couldn't join us today, but they will be back next week. I'm Drew. Have fun. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Have a blessed day. Go Lions, and we will talk to you next week. Take care. This has been the Sports Peninsula Podcast. To subscribe to the podcast, simply click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel's homepage and give us a like. You can also follow our audio podcast on multiple platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts, just to name a few. Give us a follow on Twitter. Our handle is @SportsPodcast to check out our latest releases. Thank you again for watching and for your support. Remember, when you want to hear all about sports in the great state of Michigan, there is only one Sports Peninsula Podcast.